Captains. Happy 2018. This is the Doctor. This is Star Trek Online, and this is a preview video of the 2017/18 Winter Event Ship Reward. As you saw in the introduction, this is the brand new Tier 6 Starship you get as the 2017/18 event reward. I took it through combat and showed you some of the best of it in action in that intro video. And this is simply going to be a preview video about the ship. I'm going to show you some of its features and what it has and what is special about it. And you can look forward to a full review of the ship later on once I get it all figured out completely and actually put a different build than I'm going to show you today on it. So, yes, here it is. This is the ship you see on your screen that you get for the 2017/18 winter event. This is the free ship that you grind painlessly for in the fastest on ice thing in Q's Winter Wonderland. Doing that race gets you 40 vouchers, winter vouchers per race, and it takes 1,000 vouchers to open up this ship. Well, here it is. I've got it. I've done it. I will admit I did not do it completely with the fastest game on ice. I actually got up to about 500 vouchers, so I did do about half of it doing it that way. And then I went ahead and I used low buy, which you can do, to buy the voucher packs within the winter store to open up the more vouchers and pay for it that way. So I did about half of it doing fastest game on ice and half of it with low buy and voucher boxes. And just real quick, I'll show you where those voucher boxes are. If you go to the winter event, which is still running right now, you go to the store, and right here, well, not right here, somewhere. For some reason, it's not showing up. Usually it's at the top, which may be only at, I may have to do it from within the winter event. But basically, there's a box. When you go to the winter event box, it may be because I've already purchased this and I don't need any more vouchers, but when you go to the winter event store, and you at the top you'll see like winter event vouchers, and that's where you can buy them for low buy, and you get a random amount of vouchers per box. So I basically just bought enough until I got the ship. So I did it half one way and half the other way. But anyway, regardless, point is I got the ship. I got it a lot earlier than I would have if I had just do all the grinding for all the vouchers. I was afraid I might not be able to get it that way because I don't have a lot of time left, and I haven't been able to get in every day and grind for it, and I wanted to make sure I got this ship so I could do a review on it for you all. But this video today is just a preview of it. I have only had it now for a couple of days, so I haven't had it very long. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I have spent a little bit of time, and I'm getting more familiar with it. So I'm going to bring up my current build on this ship, but just keep in mind that this build is going to change. This preview build I've got on it today is not going to be the final build I review it with. I'm actually going to use a Breen build with it. So today, what I've got on this ship is an Iconian build with anti-proton energy weapons. So I've got Iconian space set, I've got Iconian weapon set, and I have anti-proton weapons. But for this ship, you probably want to go with Polaron energy. And the reason why is because of this console that the ship comes with called the Universal Enhanced Sensor Disruption Field. This buffs Polaron damage. It's a passive buff, so it just comes with this console. You put it on the ship and bam, you boost Polaron damage. And as you can see, it sits in a science slot. Or I think you can also put it in engineering. And what that means is you can fill out all your tactical console slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with Polaron damage, and then have a sixth one that's also boosting Polaron damage, which boosts it even more. So it's basically like having an extra tactical console slot. And so that's very important, because if you use a different energy type like I'm using right now, anti-proton, I've only got the 5 tactical console slots boosting anti-proton, and that's all. But with Polaron, I can have 6 because of this console. And also the default weaponry that this ship comes with is Polaron based. All of the Breen ships come with Polaron. That is their themed weapon energy choice, is Polaron. So basically, if you want to get the most energy weapon damage out of this ship, you want Polaron. So I will be changing over to a Polaron build on this ship. I just don't have it yet. I don't have really good Polaron weapons on my specific character. This is, by the way, the War Doctor. He is my tactical character, but I do not have a good Polaron set on him at the moment. So I've got to build that up and work on that. But in the future I will, and that's what I'm going to put on this ship. Secondly, this ship goes hand in hand with the Breen space set and the Breen weapon set. And that's something to keep in mind. Right now I've got the Iconian space set on, but there is a Breen space set and a Breen weapon set that will add abilities to this ship that are themed correctly to the ship. Now, of course, you can use anything you want. Right now, this is a very powerful build I have on this ship, but if you put the Breen stuff on, it's just themed better to the ship. And that's what I'm going to review it with. In this preview today, I'm going to show you this build, but in my review, actually, I may show you both builds in the review, because this is a powerful build still, but it can be different and maybe even a little bit better with the Breen stuff plus Polaron. Anyway, I digress. I am starting to ramble now. We'll look at that because I have some of the Breen stuff right now, but not all of it. So let me just show you what that looks like real quick. One of the Breen things that I'm talking about is, for example, the super cooled combat impulse engines you get from the Breen missions. And as you see there, it's called a part of set Breen Absolute Zero, and it's a 4-piece set. You need the shield, the engine, the core, which is the warp core, and the deflector. You get those by playing missions, except for the warp core, and so that's real easy to get. You go to the Breen Invasion mission, and these missions have those items. So playing these missions is real easy to get the engine, the deflector, and the shield. And right now I've only got the engine, but I need to get the other two. So I got to replay these missions and get those items. So that's part of the Breen Absolute Zero set. And it's got a set 2 bonus called Superconducting Phase Channels, a set 3 bonus called Breen Energy Siphon, and then the set 4 bonus is called Eject Cryoplasma. Now you only get that set 4 bonus if you have the warp core. And the warp core you need is only available in the winter event. So if you're going to get this ship, also get the warp core. So if we go to Reputation, back to the winter store here, for the winter event store, go down toward the bottom, Starship Components, Cryoplasma Infused Warp Core. You can only get this warp core from the winter event. And as you can see, here's what it costs. 50 Targ furs, 50 Boolean candles, Terran holiday ornaments, Vulcan meditation incense, 15 sleigh bells, and gratitude beads. So it's very expensive in terms of items required. But if you do a lot of grinding in the winter event and do a lot of the events, you can get these things quite easily, or you can buy them from the exchange. And you get those, and that's how you purchase the warp core. So just remember, the only way to get the warp core is the winter event. So you want to get the ship and the warp core. And that is, again, part of the Breen Absolute Zero space set. It will complete a 4-piece bonus. So once you have that warp core purchased, then you can put it as part of the space set and get the complete Breen Absolute Zero. So in my actual review, that's the set I'm going to use so that I can show you this ship with its themed space set. Of course, you can use any space set you want again, but for the review, I'm going to theme it all Breen and put it all together in one thing. Plus, the warp core is only part of the winter set, so it makes sense. Now, the other part of the space set on this is a weapon set, and that is actually part of this console here. You'll see that this is called the hyper-cooled technology set. Now, this console is part of that, but you also need the Breen energy dissipator, the resonant dissipation matrix, and the energy discharge capacitors. When you get that, then you have this hyper-cooled technology set, plus the sensor disruption field here. That gives you a cryonic reaction assembly bonus, a supercooled weapon arrays bonus, and an enhanced cryonic relays bonus. So a ton of things there. A 4-piece bonus. Again, 4 components you need. Now, I don't actually know where you get all of those things. I am guessing that some of it might be from the Tier 5 version of this ship, or maybe the other versions of the Breen ships. There are a couple of other Tier 6 versions, maybe some Tier 5 versions. So I'm assuming those come from those ships. I'm going to have to look it up because I don't have the info in front of me right now, specifically which one comes from which ship. All I know is that those things are out there, and it's probably related to the other Breen ships you can get, which again is mostly the winter event, because you can only get the Breen ships during the winter event. So it's probably from those other ships, which I actually do not have. I think I have one of the other ships, but that's about it. So I may not be able to complete this whole set for the review, but I just want to show you, because this is the preview of showing you what's available on this ship. That's what's available with this ship. You can take all of those 4 things, including this console here, and make this hyper-cooled technology set. In the review, we'll go over and look at what actually each one of those bonuses does. We'll read about it more, and I'll have the information for you to tell you which ship each one of those things come from and where you can get them. But I just want to show you that there is this weapon console set out there that exists that you can put on this ship. It's 4 pieces, and it gives you 4 more things. So there is a four-piece bonus space set and a 4-piece bonus console weapon set. That's a lot that you can put on this Breen ship. I may not have all of it for the review, but I'm going to try to get as much of it as I can just to demonstrate it. So that's kind of 2 big things about this ship you want to be aware of. Those 2 things, those 2 sets, those 2 space sets that are available for this ship. And of course, it only comes with this console. So everything else you've got to get for yourself. Thankfully, the Breen space set is easy to get. It's just a Breen mission. You can play that. Anybody can play that and get that set. As for the warp core, you can only get it during the winter event. So get it now, or wait till next winter to get it again. So that one's going to be harder to get. And then the hardest of them is just going to be all these other console things here with all the other ships. That's going to be the hardest of them all. But the space set should be relatively simple to get. I say relatively simple, because the warp core, again, you can only get it once a year. So that all sounds complicated, I know, but that's what's available for this ship, and that's how one way you can really make it unique, make it Breen, make it themed to a Breen theme. Okay, so now that we've gone over all of that, because I know that's a bunch of stuff there, and I know it's a lot of information, it's a big info dump, and in the review, I'll go over it in more detail and we'll break it down better. But that's an overview of it right there, a preview of it. Let's talk about the console itself, because obviously this is what you're going to get with this ship, and that's pretty much all you're going to have on this ship by default. So what does this do? Okay, it's a PB AoE placate and damage resist debuff. Each second for 15 seconds to all foes within 5 kilometers, you placate for 10 seconds or until you deal a certain amount of damage to jammed target. So once you do that much damage to the target, then the placate goes away. But until that point, they are placated. Now, this is improved by auxiliary power level and control expertise. So the more auxiliary power you have, the better it is, and the more control expertise, the better it is. It also does a -10 all damage resistance for 10 seconds. So this is not a huge thing. Placating is cool and all, but it is fragile because you can quickly do a ton of damage and they're unplacated. And with a ship like this that is doing a ton of damage, and let me reiterate that, this thing can do a ton of damage. It's a powerful ship. You are going to be able to do a high amount of DPS with this ship. Talk about a high DPSer. This is a high DPSing ship. So with that, you are pretty much going to unplacate him with one shot. That's what I'm finding out anyway. Yeah, okay, I placate him at first, but then I shoot him and they're already unplacated. So it really isn't a huge benefit. I guess the biggest benefit is maybe the -10 all damage resistance. But again, that only lasts 10 seconds too. Really, this I have found, now I've only been playing with the ship for 2 days, but in my dealings with it so far, it seems like this one console ability is really not that helpful. That's my first opinion experience with this console. It's really not that helpful. I basically just do I basically do better just doing a whole bunch of DPS and taking the ship out quickly with this ship rather than using this console. Now, when I do use it or notice the most effect is when there's a lot of enemies around me. So, for example, if there's like a lot of enemies around me and I fire it off and it affects them, it can placate the other ships while I'm taking out the other ships. So it can help me with like mini foes, but if it's just one or two foe, not a huge helper. But if there's a lot of foes, okay, maybe it helps a little bit more. That's my opinion of it so far. I'm going to have to use it more to get more experience with it, but that's my initial experience with it right there. So I will show you what it does. I will show you that in this preview. We'll go take it and I'll set it off and you'll see what it does. What else is unique about this ship? Obviously, it comes with the experimental weapons console slot because it is an escort, and it comes with the experimental hyper-excited ion stream projector. And this is the default one right here that it comes with. So that's what you get with this ship by default, is that one. What else? Obviously, it's going to come with a full mastery unlock, including a special Starship trait. And I do have all of them unlocked right now. I have been grinding the ship and I have all of them unlocked. However, I do not have the trait active or enabled. So in the intro of this video, you saw the ship in combat. That is without the Starship trait enabled. Without the trait enabled. And right now, I still don't have the trait enabled. I'm holding off on that to show you that enabled in the review. So for this preview, it's off. But in the review, it will be on. So here's what you get in the masteries. You get plus 5% accuracy, plus 5 defense, plus 10% kinetic and energy damage buff to your weapons. You get a plus 15% critical severity. So as you can see, this is a raider, of course. It's geared toward doing DPS. And then here's the trait. It's called Cold-Hearted. It adds slow drain resistance debuff to weapons. So while it's active, your energy weapons apply Cold-Hearted to foes once per firing cycle. So what does Cold-Hearted do? It causes the enemy to have a minus 9.1% flight speed for 15 seconds, so it reduces their flight speed. It has a negative 10 all energy damage resistance. It reduces their damage resistance by negative 10. It has a minus 2 to current and max all subsystem power for 15 seconds. So it reduces their current and max subsystem power for 15 seconds by minus 2. And it has 5 stacks max from all sources. So it does stack from all sources. So it reduces flight speed, reduces damage resistance, and reduces their power. So it's like a drain. It is pretty much like an energy drain or some kind of drain on their ship, which is very Breen-like because the Breen powers are all about drain. In fact, the space set, I believe one of its powers is a drain, flat out an energy drain. So it's cool that this is related to that. It doesn't do cold damage, even though it says cold-hearted. It doesn't do cold damage or anything. It's more like a drain. Flight speed, damage resistance, and power drain out of one Starship trait. And it says while active, it does that. So you really don't have to do anything to activate it except fire on the enemies. Fire on your enemies, and it activates. So that's a cool trait. I like that trait because it's just active all the time. It's not like you have to activate, like something like rapid fire or your tactical team or your alpha or beta or anything like that. You don't have to activate a certain power for it to activate. It just activates when you fire on the enemy. That's the kind of Starship trait I like. So I'm going to like that trait. I really am going to like that trait. I just don't have it enabled yet, but in the review it will be. Okay, so I just wanted to confirm one thing because I talked about that power drain, Breen Energy Siphon. So yeah, with the Breen Space set, the 3-piece bonus is called the Breen Energy Siphon. It is an energy drain. So the Breen are really known for draining energy, and this ship, the Starship trait, fits right in line with that. I like that. It's going to be really cool. So I know that sounds like a lot. Also, don't forget, because it's a raider, it has heavy raider flanking, which means you get bonus damage on the flanks, where when you hit flank on the enemy, you get bonus damage. So don't forget that. That's a trait of this ship as well, because it is technically a raider. It's a very, very powerful raider, though. Breen Plesh Tral heavy raider. And if we look at my current stats with this build, you will see that the hull is at 65,439. So, I mean, we're not talking a very high hull strength with this ship at all. So you do be careful. It's a raider, an escorty raider thing. It's going to take a lot of damage, and so you want things to buff that quite a bit, or to stay alive, or healing abilities and so forth. You want to get in, fire, do damage, and get out. Defense rating is 22 right now. When I'm moving, it's 92. Remember, you get +5 defense with one of the traits. So it's actually 92 right now. My hull repair rate is 103%. My 4 shields and all that, all my shield strength is 11,231. Again, that's not a whole lot, but that's just based on the Iconian shield I'm using. Different shields will change that number, obviously. And it'll be interesting to see what the Breen shield does when I put that on. But right now I'm at 11.2. And then my resists are very low. This ship is... My skills are not set up to have a lot of resist. My skills are set up to do a lot of damage with this character, so my resists are real low. But look at my crit severity, almost 100% crit severity. And then a 20% crit chance. So yeah, I'm doing a ton of damage with this ship. Not just DPS alone, but I'm doing crits, man. I'm doing almost a 20% chance to do 100% critical severity. Yeah, that's good. And my accuracy rating is also extremely high, 32.9. So I'm hitting hard, even though I'm using cannons, dual heavy cannons. I'm still pretty accurate with them, and I'm doing a lot of critical severity, and I got a good chance for it. And I'm doing a lot of DPS with these weapons. This is a high DPS build, but again, I can do even better with Polaron because I'll have a technically 6th tactical console slot boosting Polaron damage. So I'm looking forward to actually putting on some really good Polaron weapons on this thing. That should be very interesting. So I will compare the DPS between this and that, and we'll see. My turn rate is another thing I really need to talk about with this ship. It's incredibly good. Incredibly good. 56.1 degrees per second. Now I'm using Pilot as my primary specialization. So Pilot gives you a plus 40% turn rate buff, I think. Plus 40, I think. I'll double check that. But that makes my turn rate on this ship 56.1. I mean, this thing is so maneuverable. It's just, oh, it's awesome. I love it. Love the maneuverability. Can't get over how good that is. Flight speed is also very fast with this ship. So this is a fast raider. That's what you want with a raider. You want it to move fast and you want to turn fast. And with this ship, I can do that. And I love it to death. There's my power transfer rate. There's my stealth detection rating. So that's my stats right now where I'm sitting with this thing. That's, of course, the Iconian space set and the Iconian weapon set. The weapon set is called Radiant Armaments, and the space set is called Iconian Resistance Starship Technologies. So that's what I'm using right now, and it is very powerful. Also do have the Temporal Disentanglement Suite that increases critical chance and severity and aux power. Aux power is important on this ship, as we learned. I've got Sustained Radiant Field, which is part of the Iconian set. I am using this little thing here. This is the Engineering Reinforced Armaments. Gives you a higher power transfer rate, hull restoration, and hull capacity. I got Trillium D as my plating, and of course a Borg thingy here. I got 2 turrets in the back, 3 dual heavy cannons, and the Iconian Radiant Quantum Torpedo. And I will show off some of this right now. But look at that turn rate. This is without evasive maneuvers. Look how fast that turns. I'm spinning on a dime. Spinning on a dime. It's like I'm drifting already, and I'm not even doing anything else. Watch when I hit evasive maneuvers. It just goes crazy. Look at that. That's evasive maneuver. That's crazy. I mean, that's a crazy turn rate right there. And now it's died. But even without evasive maneuver, that turn rate is incredible. I mean, that is just, I love that. I can fly in real fast and just turn. There's full impulse turn rate. Even on full impulse, the turn rate is that good. I just can't get over how good the turn rate on this ship is. I've been flying some real slow ships lately, and this is just so nice to fly. It's awesome. I mean, look at that. I can weave in and out of these other ships like they're nothing. That's so sweet. Look at that turn rate. That's so cool. I love it. Whee! It's so good. It is so good. As for a size comparison, well, here's a good size comparison. Here's a Scimitar. And here's this ship, so you can kind of see the size difference there. Here we go. Here's an Enterprise E, basically. And here, we put this side by side with the Enterprise E, and we can take a look. It's actually pretty big when you look at it like this. It's not long, obviously, but in terms of size, I mean, it's up there with the size of the Enterprise E. I mean, obviously not in length, but if you took this little part and extended it out this way lengthwise, it would be the size of the Enterprise E. So it's actually a pretty big ship. You would think that it would, as a raider, you would think it would be a smaller ship. You think it would be tiny, right? But it's really not tiny. It's a big ship. It's a big ship that has a really good turn rate. Literally, that's what it is. It's a big ship. There's the NX. See what it looks like up against the NX here. See, it destroys the NX in size. Try to find here we go. Here's a Galaxy class size. This is an NPC ship right here, but still Galaxy class. I mean, pretty interesting that it's like comparable in size with that. I mean, obviously it's a little bit smaller. Just depends which way you look at it. But, you know, for a raider, it's a big raider. I guess that's the point I want to make. It's a big raider, but it just turns real fast. It's a fast turning big raider. So it's really not that tiny. It's really not that tiny. It's a good sized ship, I think. So on the view, if we zoom all the way out, That's what it looks like zoomed all the way out. So you can still see it pretty good when it's zoomed all the way out. When you zoom all the way in, that's what it looks like. And I love the texture detail on this thing. It's really good texture detail. Very, very good looking texture detail. The only thing I wish you could change about the ship was this little thing that's sticking out down here. I don't know, I kind of really don't like this part that sticks down here and then this part here. I don't know. I wish I could kind of get rid of this whole bottom part of it and just fly it without that. I think it would look better without this bottom part. It's kind of weird flying it with that bottom part there. That's just my opinion. That turn rate, man. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Whew. That is just awesome. Really, really, really good turn rate. Yeah, I can't get over that. There's my power levels. 125 on weapons, 91 on shield, 70 on engine, 58 on aux. Again, we learned aux is important with this ship, so you do want to have a decent aux power or be able to buff it. Now, as for my powers that I have, here is the console power, the sensor disruption field. That's what this ship has by default. Again, we will enable it, and I'll show you that in combat. Now, a couple of other powers I have that are really good with the Iconian set are these two right here. I've got Advanced Radiant Hypercharge. This is part of the Radiant Armaments or Weapons set. This is a really good thing. It says your Advanced Radiant Antiproton Weapons fires an extremely powerful blast. If the target is below 50% max hull, it deals additional damage. This is actually a very powerful weapon. I've been testing it, and this is a really good ability that comes with the Iconian set. It does a lot of damage. It does this burst of damage that's really nice. The other thing that's really nice with the Iconian set is called Radiant Subatomic Pulse. This does plus 33% all damage to yourself and your team, and plus 20% maximum hull, and plus 10% flight speed for 30 seconds to yourself and your entire team. So if you're in an STF playing, this will not just help yourself, but it helps your entire team. It buffs your entire team's damage for 30 seconds. So the Iconian set, space set, and weapon set have some pretty good abilities that come with them. But of course, when I change it out for the Breen set, these two are going to go away. So right now I have these two abilities which are tied into the Iconian set and work really good. But when I go to the Breen set, I'm going to lose these two abilities. So hopefully the Breen stuff that it comes with will augment that in some way, or make it worth losing those two abilities. I will gain a siphon, which again, auxiliary power will be important for the siphon. And I will gain some other Breen abilities. But I'm going to lose these two Iconian abilities. And I do like these two Iconian abilities for an escort, for a tactical character, for a raider, doing a lot of DPS, a lot of damage. These Iconian abilities are very, 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 very good. I cannot stress how good they are. So I will lose them. And it'll be interesting to see how this build compares to the Breen build. Is it worth losing them to go with the complete Breen set? Or should I just stick with anti-protons and the Iconian set despite having that Polaron console? It'll be interesting to find out which actually works best with this ship, because I am not sure. Really, really not sure what's going to work best. I haven't really used the Breen set on any of these ships to its full capacity yet. And as you can see, I need to upgrade them because the warp core is just very rare. I need to upgrade it to Epic, Mark 14, etc. I've got to upgrade the space set. I'm going to have to get them all and upgrade it. So I've got a bit of work to do before I can do the full review of this ship, because I want to show it in its best possible capacity. But that means I'm going to have to upgrade all of the things on it first. But it'll be interesting to compare the two sets and see what happens there. Okay, what else are we left with? There is a unique Breen bridge. I'll show you that toward the end. Not really anything special, just a unique bridge. You cannot really change the appearance of this too much. I won't even go to Earth to show you, but Basically, you can change the texture on it in a couple of different textures. You can change a pattern on it, and really that's about it. There's not really much you can do with customization, except of course put on a unique shield. Let's say you go to visuals, and let's say I put on, here's the Terran Task Force covariant shield. I could do that, and that really changes the look of it. So that's one way you can change the look of it, is by putting on a new visual shield. That's about the only way you're going to change it or make it look unique. You can't really change parts up on it or do anything like that. So pretty much what you get is what you get with this ship. But I think it looks good anyway, just like this. Very cool looking. Okay, so now that we've looked at all that, again, I do not have the trait enabled yet. I'm going to show that in the review. So saving that, so it's going to be even more powerful in the review when I show it, when I have that trait active. I do have pilot, like I said. Pilot is my primary specialization enabled at the moment. But now the best thing to do is just to demonstrate this a little bit in combat and show you what its abilities do, so that you're aware. So let's just go do some simple, very quick patrols. We're going to do the Romulan patrols. We're going to go to Japori, for example, and I'll just show out a couple of its abilities here. We're going to transwarp to Japori. Not transwarp, but yeah, transwarp. 22. Pretty slow. This character is not geared to go fast or anything like that. This character is all about doing damage. DPS. I think my music volume is just a little too loud. It will be real interesting to, like I said, test this with the complete Breen set. I'm going to find all the Breen stuff I can get to put on this ship. It'll be maybe interesting also to test out different experimental weapons and which ones work the best on this. I've only ever used the ion stream projector. Maybe there's better ones out there, I'm not sure. I'll have to look. The other thing that I need to decide on is what type of Polaron weapons I'm going to put on this thing. I actually have Protonic Polaron, but I don't think I want to use that. I probably will end up just using regular old Polaron. Because what I want to find is, if I can, I don't even know if it exists, I want to find Polaron with Pen. I want the Pen modifier, and I want to find, like, all the crit D or all the damage I can, you know, like times 4, like, you know, crit D times 4 or damage times 4 with, like, Pen, if you can have that, or at least times 3 with Pen. So I don't know, I probably want to go for that type of Polaron weapon. I probably really don't need anything except basic Polaron. But I'm going to look around and see what might work best on this. It's been a while since I've done anything with Polaron, so that's going to be real fun. But it's going to take me time. It's going to take me time to get everything up to Mark 14 and Epic and all that stuff. Okay, first thing I'm going to demonstrate is, well, this is not an ability of the ship, but I want to demonstrate how cool the Advanced Radiant Hypercharge is with the Iconian set. So I just want to demonstrate that. We'll use that on this big ship here. Done. I want to get out of the way. Alright, so as you saw, That did a lot of damage, and you're done. I mean, killed that thing with no problem at all. I am on normal difficulty. Maybe I should go to advanced. I'm going to do that. Sorry about that, guys. I'm on a lower difficulty, and I just realized that. So let me get out of here. We'll go to advanced difficulty. We'll raise the difficulty. That way it'll really demonstrate how powerful the ship is. So let's do options here. Let's go to advanced. There we go. Advanced difficulty. Now we'll go back into Japori. Actually, now I need to wait for that to cool down. Let me wait for that to cool down. Well, we'll go back into Japori, wait for it to cool down, and then we'll fire on it. And while we're waiting, let me pull back here. While we're waiting, one thing I didn't show you is not that. This. Show you what my current DPS levels are on my weapons. So my dual heavy Delphic anti-proton cannons is 2148 DPS, or anti-proton damage. No, DPS. It's 2685 anti-proton damage, 2148 DPS. This one is the same. This one is 2032 DPS, 2540 anti-proton damage. The torpedo is 1016 DPS, 8000 kinetic damage. In the back, the turrets are doing 1000 DPS each, 908 anti-proton damage. And then this is doing 2821 electrical damage. And of course, that's without buffing anything. When I buff system power, when I buff the radiant subatomic pulse, when I buff all these things, I buff alpha. That's also a bonus all damage. I do all that, and my DPS will go through the roof. That. And now I'm at 3517 DPS, 4396 anti-proton. So, you know, doing all my buffs. Oh, and I even forgot tactical team, or tactical fleet. Doing all of that, 4309 DPS, 5386 anti-proton. Yeah, you can see how powerful this ship can be. Now, all that stuff has worn off, unfortunately, but there we go. So that's on advanced. But that's a really cool ability. I like that a lot. Again, all my other buffs had worn off, but you get the idea. Don't forget you have Raider flanking too. Doing like some pretty big crits. Let me kill this group here. All right, let me do the console here at this group. That's basically it. So that is on advanced difficulty, which is obviously a lot more intense. They do more damage to me, and they tank better, so it's a lot harder on advanced, but it still shows you how powerful this ship is, because even on advanced, I can blow through them pretty easily. The only thing I have to worry about is just watching my health when I'm on advanced difficulty, obviously. This, like I said, this is a raider, so you don't have the bestest of healths or hull strength. So I've got a lot of things that help me out. I got hazard emitters, I've got engineering team, I've got lone wolf, I've got emergency power to shields, I've got a reverse shield polarity, and science team too. All to help me heal. Also, because of a trait I have enabled somewhere, when I enable attack pattern beta, it gives me this temporary hull strength. I turned pink here. It gives me this temporary hit points or hull strength, 4862. That has helped me or saved my life a lot, honestly, on ships like this, is having that tied into attack pattern beta. So that's a good ability to have there. So with the Iconian set, you can see this is a very powerful ship. Obviously not using anything Breen-like here. This is just all Iconian, all anti-proton, but you can do a ton of damage with this thing. Again, that was on advanced. You play on normal mode, and you're going to rip through everything in a second. I mean, really, it's just real easy on normal mode. So you probably want to go on advanced mode when you have a powerful ship like this. Otherwise, the game is just so super easy with a ship like this. I'll do one more thing. Let's go to Karaya, because I did not emphasize, I think, enough the actual console ability. I emphasized the Iconian abilities, but again, you put the brain stuff on here, you're going to lose those Iconian abilities. So that's really not that important here. Let me demonstrate again the sensor disruption field, because that's more important, because that's the actual console the ship comes with. But I just don't find it that useful. Really, honestly, I just have not found it that useful yet. Maybe it's the way I'm using it, but I don't know. I'll have to spend more time with that. So I'll just go in. This is a Romulan patrol. I'll go in, and on the there's a Mogai and a Dederidex. I will use the console on them, and we'll see what it does. I'll go ahead and buff my auxiliary power. Let's see, I can use my red matter to buff my auxiliary power before I set it off. So you can see the effect on them, the little sparkly effect. So as you can see, a very powerful ship. Ah, wow. Check out that maneuverability. There you go. So wow. I completely ripped through that patrol on advanced mode. Advanced difficulty. Ripped through that patrol like it was nothing. Just ripped through it on advanced. Powerful ship. Powerful build. Lots of DPS, lots of fun on advanced difficulty. There she is. So there you go, everybody. That's my preview of the Breen Plesh Tral Heavy Raider Tier 6. Just a preview because, again, that's without all the Breen stuff on it. That's just the Iconian set, anti-proton weapons. In the future, I will do a Polaron build with Breen, all the Breen stuff I can find. I'll slam it on this ship, and we'll see what happens. But that's a preview of the winter event ship. This is what you get free for the winter event, and it's a nice raider. Probably one of the best raiders I have flown yet, because it doesn't die instantly. I've flown some other raiders where it's like you just take one shot and you're dead. With this thing, I can kind of stay alive, which is nice. Still have to be careful. This is pretty much by far my most favorite raider so far in the game. Anyway, there you go. That is my preview. That's the Breen Plesh Tral Heavy Raider Tier 6 Winter Event Reward Ship. I hope you all enjoy that. So now you know what you're grinding for. Oh, look, there's another one. We're twinsies. Twinsies. Except he's got a blue accent thing going on there. That's interesting. Might be a shield effect. It's got to be a shield effect. Whatever shield he's using or something. Anyway, very cool. Very cool. Nice ship. Nice reward ship. A fun ship to play with because it's so maneuverable and you can just do a lot of damage with it. So it's a very fun ship to play with. I like that. Alright. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.